Good food so far? That's good. So I'm going to make one of our signature appetizers. At Spire Farm to Fork, we change our menu monthly. One of the recent appetizers is the one that I'm making today, and it's just gone like wildfire. So it's your traditional corn pudding with our own little twist, which we do a lot at the restaurant. We make it with a piece of seared salmon that we get from Lake Michigan, some sweet pepper jelly, and some goat cheese as well. It's just got a ton of flavor going on. I'm going to start with the pepper jelly just to get that going on the stove because it's going to take a little bit. I've got 3 red bell peppers, sweet bell peppers that we're going to put in a food processor. These are just rough chopped. And we're just going to turn this on until we want to grind them down fairly small. And then I'm going to add a 1.5 cups of sugar, a bit of apple cider vinegar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then for a little bit of heat I've got crushed red pepper, but you can certainly leave this out. This is a very simple recipe to throw together, and we're just going to let this process for just a few seconds. And then we're going to put this on the stove over high heat. And we're going to let this cook until a lot of the moisture has evaporated and it gets nice and syrupy, like we like in all of our jellies. So the next step is we're going to actually make the corn pudding. This is a very traditional corn pudding. It's actually one of my favorite things to have when I was growing up. And that's a lot of what we do at the restaurant is doing things that you think is traditional and putting our own spin like I mentioned. I've got 2 pounds of corn off the kernel that we're going to add to our blender. We're going to add a cup of milk. This is just whole milk. I'm also going to add a 1/2 cup of sugar. Six tablespoons of butter. I'm going to shut that off so you don't have to listen to it for a bit. I've got 6 eggs as well that I'm going to add to this. All of the stuff that we make at Spire Farm to Fork does come from within 250 miles of our kitchen door. A lot of this stuff comes from Southwest Michigan, Northwest Indiana. And we make everything from scratch at the restaurant. We make all of our own breads and salad dressings. We do our own ice creams as well. So this is just about done. I'm going to turn this back on. I want to get covered with it. And then, good thing I stood back, right? I've got 3/4 cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of salt. And we'll throw in about a cup of cheese too. This keeps getting better, right? So we're just going to process this until it's smooth. We want to make sure we get that corn nice and really processed. The nice thing about this recipe at this point, if you'd like to throw in some bell peppers, just some diced bell peppers for texture or for color, you can certainly do that. I chose not to because we have the pepper jelly. And then we're just going to put this into an 8 or 6 ounce ramekin that will spray. We use these bowls at the restaurant. They're oven safe and they have nice presentation. So you see how smooth this corn pudding is? So this will just bake in a 350-degree oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. If you have a convection oven at home, take about 5 minutes off your time. And then this is what the final product will look like. You can serve this hot or at room temperature. At the restaurant, we do serve it hot. While our pepper jelly is cooking. These appliances are awesome up here. We're going to cook our salmon. So we get our salmon from Dake's Country Meats. Has everybody been over to Dake's Country Meats? Across the way, they're on the right-hand side over here. We get a lot of our pork from them, and they also get wild-caught seafood out of Lake Michigan, and that's where we get our salmon. So we've got just small pieces of salmon. They're cut to about 2 ounces. We're going to season these on both sides with salt and pepper. And then in a saute pan, got a little bit of olive oil. While my pan heats up, are there any questions so far of what we've worked on? That's a good thing, right? How many of you have been to Spire Farm before? We're at Legacy Hills Golf Course in LaPorte, Indiana, so it's just about 45 minutes from here. Fairly easy to find. We're going to add our salmon down, skin side down. And we're going to season the other side at this point as well. Everybody see how this pepper jelly is looking? So we get our goat cheese. We have a goat cheese farm out of Waukegan, Indiana. They're called J2K Capriola, and they produce a really great goat cheese from local goats, of course. And that's one of the beautiful things that we have a luxury of here in Northwest Indiana is there are so many farmers out here, which you've experienced today. We just have endless possibilities with the foods that we can produce. There are a few things at the restaurant that we do outsource from outside of 250 miles. We call those our 10 things worth of miles. 10 things that you can't run a restaurant without, like coffee and chocolate, you know, the important things. Olive oil, olives, things like that that we do outsource from further than 250 miles. But nothing comes into the restaurant in a can or process. Like I said, we make everything from scratch. I have a wonderful team, a pastry chef who makes all of our breads. Daily, she's making bread for our sandwiches, our dinner rolls. And if you'll notice that this salmon is not as bright red, but it is wild caught. It's coming out of Lake Michigan. Salmon, their primary diet are going to be crustaceans, so your shrimp, baby crab, and things like that. Those items aren't as prevalent in Lake Michigan, so their color is not going to be as vibrant, bright red as you're going to get wild caught out of one of the oceans or the Gulf of Mexico. So it's still a really great product. It has a ton of flavor, but a lot of times at the restaurant people will confuse it for trout, but it is actually salmon. How does everybody like their salmon cooked? Medium, medium rare? Good choice. So we've got a few pieces that are just about done. So we're just going to top, does everybody see that? We're going to top our corn pudding with a piece of the salmon. And then I've got some of this goat cheese that we're going to put right on top. And then we're going to finish the whole dish off with a little bit of this pepper jelly. The hot pepper jelly is going to let the goat cheese melt over the fish. How's that look? So this is it. This is our corn pudding with seared salmon, goat cheese, and pepper jelly. I have 2 samples. Move it up a little bit. How's that look? Good? The first 2 hands I see up are more than welcome. I've got one here and one here. I don't have any forks up here, but I assume you all have forks with you. You're welcome. Tell everybody what you think of it. So that's it. Do we have any questions so far?